Eric says, try before you buy, but how much? Isn't there a middle ground? Maybe, what? Maybe once a year or once every 6 months until you get married. How about that? You are saving it for marriage, but you know, well, I mean, you could do that, I suppose. It just seems a bit odd to me, really. It's not the way I would like to conduct a relationship. So the way I would conduct a relationship is the modern way, which a lot of these people, and I'm probably Matt Walsh and probably all of these other trad clowns would come down on me like a ton of bricks. But the modern way of conducting a relationship is basically you guys meet. You probably end up having sex quite quickly. That becomes a feature of the relationship, but you're also growing the other bits of the relationship as well. You know, there's that deeper compatibility based on other things. It's not just all about sex, but you're exploring each other sexually, etc., etc., etc. You're ensuring that you guys are on the same page with that. You know, you are able to satisfy one another. It is good, right? And here's the thing, right? In my experience, okay, sexual compatibility. So you've got compatibility in terms of attraction and how well you guys get on together and what you can have a conversation and it's interesting and you like being with them. That's one thing. There's also then sexual compatibility, which is kind of like how good the sex is between the two of you. And in my experience, at least, it's unpredictable with each new person how that's going to go. Okay? With some people, you just have more inherent sexual compatibility off the bat. Okay, it for whatever reason, it's a mystical thing. It could be to do with DNA, it could be to do with pheromones, who knows, right? But there are certain people with whom you have greater sexual compatibility than others, and there are other people where you have sex, but it's like it doesn't quite take off in the same way. And then there are some people where the sex is really good. As I say, why? It's a little bit mystical. I don't really know exactly. I think it's probably a DNA thing, to be honest. But you need to be looking for somebody where the sex is good, really, if you're going to commit to them long term. Because with the best will in the world, in any relationship, the sex is going to fall off after a while. On a long enough timeline, the sex is going to fall off, okay? And that's just a fact. So you want to start at the highest level possible. You don't want to start down here and then the sex still falls off. You want to start up here and then maybe there's a slower decline over time, all right? It's pretty simple stuff. But if you don't try before you buy, then how are you going to know? Okay, and then you could be setting yourself up for a life of misery, and with her as well. It's just a crazy batshit thing to do, and it's very, very bad advice. So this whole thing about try before you buy, but why don't you just do it every 6 months? I mean, yeah, you could do that, but it's a bit fucking weird, to be honest. I mean, that's not really how most relationships go, and it seems an odd thing to do, really. I mean, because again, you have sex once, and it's like, well, I think you need to judge it over time as well, right? I think you need to do it a few times because the first time is always exciting, but it may not be the best time because it takes time to get to know one another physically, to know what each other likes and all that kind of stuff. And then the sex can actually get better. So I think if you were doing that method, then you would you also wouldn't be getting the information that you need, really, if you were only maybe doing it once every 6 months. It just seems a bit odd. Marriage causes divorce. So obviously we can tell by his name he is not a fan of the institution of marriage, it would seem. But he says hard conversations during the honeymoon stage. That is grim. So speaking to you, Mr. Marriage Causes Divorce, you get where I'm coming from, right? Did you think watching that, she doesn't seem to be like over the moon about this, does she? It's not just me imagining it. SJ, Clary is doing his Mo Eggs Left dance, Troy Francis. J double B, her making her mouth noises. She's trying to convince herself of what she's saying. Yes, that's kind of what I thought as well. That's kind of what I thought. Jay, she's trying to convince herself. Yes, I think so. There's just something about it. It's just something about the way she kind of looks down when she's talking about it. It just made me think, yeah, this is and what a terrible thing, because she's so firm in this belief. This is so her thing. Yes, I saved myself deliberately. This is my faith. This is the right thing to do, and I did it. She can't admit now, especially not on a bloody podcast, but she can't admit to anybody, and probably not even herself, that maybe that was a mistake. That maybe actually she should have tried before she bought, or she should have rethought the whole thing, and possibly she's married the wrong guy. I mean, what a disaster for her. I genuinely feel bad for somebody if they've done that, because, you know, then she's like, well, damn, I've got another 60 years of this. Like, what the hell am I going to do? Really, really bad situation to put yourself in. Well, so the Raging Tomato says she won't know if it's bad if she doesn't have anyone else to compare her husband to. Well, I mean, that's true, but she's going to know if she's satisfied or not, isn't she? I mean, look, I'm not a woman. I don't have the, you know, the rosebud or whatever, but she's kind of going to know if she's getting what she wants to. She's kind of going to know, isn't she, right? Is this like what an amazing earth-shattering experience, or is it not? She's going to know that. And the argument of like, okay, well, she was a virgin, and so therefore, you know, guys in the manosphere will make that argument. They will say, well, what you should do is find a woman who is a virgin, because then you guys can get together. You're her first sexual partner. She's got nothing to compare it to, so she's going to more likely to remain faithful to you, okay? The problem with that argument is it doesn't always work out like that, because sometimes he'll get together with a woman who may be a virgin, or she's got a very low body count, but she's young, you know, she's 22, 23, whatever, and then she starts to think, oh shit, you know, after a few years, like, oh shit, I missed out on, you know, going out and having my fun. I missed out on experimenting, on going crazy like a lot of my friends did. And that's when often separations will happen, or cheating will happen, because she'll think, well, actually, I deserve to have that opportunity. I want to leave in order to experience these other things, okay? Terribly, terribly painful, really shitty outcome, but it does happen, right? So, yeah, I mean, if she's a virgin, she doesn't have anything to compare it to, but that doesn't mean she just thinks, oh, this is fucking amazing, if it isn't, okay? Because it might be really bad. The guy might have a really small wiener. You know, if you look back to my video that I did, we uploaded it a couple of days ago with me interviewing girls in Mexico City. I'm kind of joking around, and I say to a few of them, look, is it ever acceptable for women to cheat? And they all say, no. And I say, well, okay, but what if the sex is bad? What if the guy's got a really small penis? I said it like as a joke. And they're like, well, you shouldn't have married him in the first place. And that's true, isn't it, right? I mean, and no shade to small dick kings out there. That's not what this is about. But it's like, look, if there is some sort of thing about the sex that is not going to satisfy you, then it's better to know about that up front, rather than going into a fucking legal contract with somebody and then it becoming apparent afterwards. It's a bad state of affairs. Marriage causes divorce. I think she's had a 9-inch Chad in her past who rough widowed her. I mean, who knows? And that's the other thing. I mean, we don't know, obviously, the reality of her situation, but whatever. You or the girl in the video, can it be both? I feel half naked. The problem with the test drive theory is some guys use the promise to be boyfriend excuse and then dump the girl later after the girl invested herself physically, which is why girls are paranoid with hookup. I would say those are unethical players. I know what you mean. I know, yeah. I mean, yes, I know what you mean, but that is rather painting it as this one-sided picture where women are all these sweet, innocent, naive, you know, and they're just there waiting for the right guy to marry, and then these guys are coming along and philandering and having sex with them and then disappearing. Yes, obviously that happens, but women are also playing the game, right? Women will also fuck men over. Women will also ghost men. Women will also leave men for no reason, okay? Women will dump men very, very quickly and move on to the next guy. So it is, so yeah, I accept that is happening, but, you know, it works both ways. The dating marketplace is a ruthless mistress. It's a jungle out there, okay? And it's very hard for guys, as we all know. So yeah, some dudes do that. Some guys do the sort of the player thing. You shouldn't do that. I mean, it's a difficult thing to negotiate, right? What you should really do is you want to go in and be like, you want to be very, very sort of, you want to keep things very open at the beginning. Not open as an open relationship, but you don't want to commit yourself to a course of action too early on because you don't know her well enough. You know, you can't really on the first date be like, oh, should we be boyfriend and girlfriend then? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all. You know, as you start to, maybe you guys start to get on better together and you start to sort of grow together, and then you can start to sort of like, set the ground rules for the relationship. That's fine, but it's very hard to go into anything immediately and sort of promise fidelity forever, because you don't know it yet. You don't know if it's going to work or not. So, I think it's fair enough for guys to go in not knowing quite what they want, or not quite knowing what the future's going to hold, because I mean, how can you? And this is the stupid thing about the Matt Walsh advice of like, yeah, well, you just want to, you've got to be, dating in order to get married. Because I mean, it sounds great in theory, but it doesn't really, because it just doesn't really work in the real world, right? Because you need time with a person in a dating scenario, ideally having sex, to know if you're compatible enough to make the thing long term in the first place. That's the reality of it.